Let's go read the YouTube comments on the old NFL on CBS theme. On December 27th, 2015, Ryan Fitzpatrick tossed a game-winning touchdown pass to Eric Decker in overtime against the Patriots to keep the New York Jets' playoff hopes alive headed into Week 17. This was the last good, meaningful win the Jets have ever had. They haven't beaten the Patriots since, they haven't even come close to contending, and have completed their downward spiral with a 2020 season that can be best described as unique. No team has ever experienced a season like the 2020 Jets. On or off the field, this team was bad in just about any measurement you could make. This video should have been made a long time ago, but we waited to see just how this season would end. What would the final record and statistics and results be? Now we know. We can now finally discuss one of the most made fun of teams in sports at quite possibly the worst they've ever been.
Who bets on the Jets? Have you not learned anything about betting?
The Jets are gonna come back!
No, they're not! They're never gonna come back!
But before we dive into the wreckage, we just wanted to let you know that we have a new SRS merch shop, if you'd like to rock our apparel headed into the new year. I made sure to get my shirt, and it's incredibly comfortable, if I'm allowed to say so myself. Anyways, let's talk about the Jets. The story of the 2020 Jets begins with the 2019 Jets. A very talented group hoped to be coming together and return the Jets to glory. That was not the case, however. While the team finished 7-9, they didn't beat anyone that season who was both over 500 and trying to win. Aside from injuries, there was one cause often pointed to for blame, and it's time you be introduced to it. This is smelling salt enthusiast slash Jets head coach Adam Gase. He is a man who was objectively pretty terrible at his job. Soon after being fired by the Miami Dolphins with plenty of drama already taking place in his coaching career, the Jets hired Gase to help lead the team and develop young quarterback Sam Darnold. Instead, the Jets' offense was pretty abysmal for most of the year. This, even after the team signed three-time Pro Bowl running back Le'Veon Bell in the offseason. Gase had this habit where it seemed like he would outright refuse to use the man who may have been his best offensive weapon to his potential, for some reason, thereby weakening his own offense in the process. And some people got pretty upset with that. As Jets coach, Gase was this pretty fascinating combination of incompetent and arrogant at the same time. The Jets very often would take a Cobra Kai level beatdown, and Gase would take next to no responsibility for anything that went wrong. For 2 years. This on top of being very standoffish at times with the media when they had the nerve to ask him why he did something during a game.
You said Dow was still calling the plays, but you were sending them in.
Yeah, we've been doing it the last 3 weeks.
Why do you need the middleman? Why not just have him set it?
Because I get involved in some stuff in 2-minute situation. I mean, it's not that hard, Rich. I mean, he says play 25 and I read it off.
Gase's interviews as Jets coach teach a lesson on how not to conduct yourself as a leader. To be clear, I'm not at all saying Adam Gase is a completely bad person. I'm just saying you shouldn't treat people like this, even if the clip that's about to be shown is Gase just trying to be funny or whatever.
Do you have anything planned coming up this week on doing a scrimmage?
Yeah, I mean, we do.
Just tell me what day so I can be there.
Just show up. You got nothing else to do.
One could maybe guess that this behavior may have hurt his relationship with his players, which it seemed was the case. The Jets' best player was safety Jamal Adams, who got so sick of the Jets' environment that he more or less waged a war on Gase in an attempt to get traded. And he got his wish. Out also went the Jets' top deep threat receiver Robbie Anderson, who immediately went on to have a breakout year with Carolina Panthers. This has become a common theme with offensive players who leave Gase's system for a new team. And after playing just 2 games with the Jets in 2020, the Jets released Bell the day after it came out that he had been liking tweets criticizing the Jets' offense. But who stuck around through all of this was Adam Gase. Alright, so here we are. The 2020 Jets are ready to play football. Are they any good? Can they turn this ship around to show us what's in store for the future? Let's give them, say, 13 games as a sample size for right now. How'd that go for them?
Oh my goodness!
Through 13 games, the Jets were one of the worst teams in the history of organized football. They had 2 games that will count as close, which for this arbitrary definition will be that you could have won the game with 1 more possession. Except this 6-point game against the Chargers is getting voided because they were losing by 8 until the Chargers took an intentional safety at the end of the game, so yeah. They were just getting absolutely destroyed week in and week out. For comparison, the 2008 Lions and 2017 Browns teams that went winless were playing in way more competitive games than this Jets team. And they were scoring more points, which was amazing considering the Jets coach was billed as a, quote, offensive genius. There's a stat in baseball called wins above replacement, or WAR. It tries to figure out how much better a particular player is than a replacement level player at their same position. Football teams have a similar stat. It's called Simple Rating System, or SRS. Hey, that looks familiar. Basically, it just tells you how good a team is on offense or defense compared to the league average by using 0 as the number of an average team on each side of the ball. These are called OSRS and DSRS respectively. Through 13 games, the Jets offense had an OSRS of below -10. I wish I took a screenshot of this because I was floored to find this out. For reference, the 1976 Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense had a score of -10.8. They're commonly considered the worst football team ever, partially because it was their very first season. The Jets were almost as bad, relative to their competition of course, as a first-year team from the 70s that won no games. What went into this was that just about everything that could be bad was bad. The coaching was bad, the players' execution was bad, and the play calling was just next level ridiculous sometimes. Please keep this thought in the back of your mind for later, by the way. Early in the season, a graphic came out showing that part of why the Jets had the worst offense in football was that they were often running the ball on 2nd and long. The most mind-numbingly stupid example of this was in a game against the Broncos. It's 2nd and 30 in Jets territory. The play call is a run up the middle for no gain, and then a short pass over the middle on 3rd and 30? What are they doing? With Gase running one of the worst offenses in football, again, blame commonly went to him since he was the one calling the plays. Until he stopped calling the plays, or maybe he still was. He wouldn't give a real answer on that, especially on ones that weren't working. See, this right here is not how you act as a responsible coach, player, or executive in sports. Everyone do the opposite of this, please. So yeah, the Jets were awful, no matter how you slice it to this point in the year. But let's walk back just a little bit. On December 6th, the Jets hosted the Las Vegas Raiders. And somehow, some way, the Jets were in position to win this game. The Raiders were blowing their shots and getting victimized by the refs down the stretch. But it all came down to one play. The Raiders needed a touchdown now. Knowing this, wouldn't you think the Jets would just put everyone they have lined up at the end zone like a human wall? Like, you know that game Red Rover you would play in recess in like 2nd grade? Just do that. Wouldn't you not want just one guy covering a receiver like, say, one of the fastest humans in the universe, Henry Ruggs? The Jets decided, hey, let's do the opposite of all that. And this is what happened. Unbelievable. This call was so bad that the person who made it was fired right after it happened. The Jets lost again. And then the very next week had to take a 6-hour flight to Seattle, where their old coach, old best player, and for a couple minutes their old quarterback beat them 40-3.
Only a really bad team would only score 3 points in a football game. And the Jets are the greatest team ever. So something's not adding up here.
An absolutely crushing loss, and what had to be one of the worst flights home imaginable. The sad thing is, the Jets had plenty of good, young players, easy to root for, who did not deserve this. Mekhi Becton was a monster on the offensive line as a rookie. Quinnen Williams was a beast on the defensive line. Marcus May is a strong anchor for a secondary, and look at this catch. Jamison Crowder and Denzel Mims are good wide receivers. Even Sam Darnold still shows promise despite his struggles and being in one of the worst situations a quarterback could ever be in once you deconstruct this team. And of course, the immortal future Hall of Famer Frank Gore. All likable guys with talent, but they were now on an 0-13 football team. And now hanging over them was a mythical creature. A demigod studying marketing at a school in South Carolina who also showed that he was pretty good at throwing footballs and winning games. Mr. Shave Your Mustache, Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor needs to shave his stash.
Trevor Lawrence has been the presumptive #1 pick in the 2021 NFL Draft thanks to a terrific career at Clemson. While this video is being made, the draft is still a few months away. But for the past 2 full years, the talk has been about how Trevor Lawrence is going to change the game once he's draft eligible. That's the hype being built around him by the football community. And at 0-13, the Jets were slated to be first in line to pick him if they wanted. Jets fans were hopeful with that silver lining there after all the losing. If the Jets could just stay bad for 3 more games, they'd clinch their shot at him. Don't do anything different, said the fans begging for a change. But then, a new threat came along. What happened next is what sealed the fact that no team has ever been like the 2020 Jets. After being within striking distance of being known as the worst football team in history, the Jets won their next 2 games against playoff teams 5 or more games above 500. There's always 2 obstacles to the idea of sports teams losing on purpose: the players and the coaches. Players and coaches don't want to lose. Winning helps them stay around in the game and keep having jobs. In a truly inspiring turn of events, the Jets scraped together 2 huge underdog wins against the Rams and the Browns. The joy and relief that team felt must have been sky high, and that's something to be proud of. All the work that it takes to win finally paid off, which must have been a lot sweeter after that Raiders game. They put it all together. The offense played well, the defense played well, the punter was making sweet tackles, everything meshed well for 2 well-earned wins. And get this, after all that terrible offense, the Jets held 17-point leads in both of those games, against great football teams. That's just insane. In all, the Jets finished 2-14. Their team SRS was negative 11.5, dragged down by an OSRS of negative 8.7. They averaged 15.2 points per game while allowing 28.6. That means they averaged losing by almost 2 touchdowns every game. They were 1 more touchdown given up away from being in the top 25 worst point differentials ever. And the NFL is a league now over 100 years old and has fielded many different teams in its long history. But in spite of all this, their players earned 2 great wins against 2 great teams. Granted, the Browns didn't have any of their regular wide receivers available thanks to a global virus. Take that slight caveat about the Browns game however you'd like. But the Jets played 2 very strong games to scratch out well-fought wins. The Jets did not secure the number 1 pick in the 2021 draft. That honor went to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Adam Gase was fired a couple hours after the season ended, and he probably won't be the last person involved with the team to lose their job. The fans might be upset over most likely losing out on the chance to bring in Trevor Lawrence, even if there's no guarantee of knowing he'll even go number 1 overall, or if whoever the Jets draft could wind up being better. But in that locker room in Los Angeles when the Jets won their first game, and again at their home of MetLife Stadium the next week when they did it again, no one cared. Make no mistake about it. 2-14 is never a record a team will smile about, and the numbers show that this was not a very good football team. The focus on those nights was on the fact that this team, which will go down in the record books as one of the worst ever, got to feel like champions for 2 weeks.
Everybody wants to know what I would do if I didn't win. I guess we'll never know.